Hi fourth graders! Before we start our pond study, we're going to quickly review what a CER investigation is. Today we're going to talk about CER. If you were at Frost last year, this might be familiar to you. If you weren't, that's okay, we're going to learn about it again. So in CER, the C stands for claim, the E stands for evidence, and the R stands for reasoning. So your claim always starts after you hear a question. So here's an example. Are there more worms on a driveway after it rains or when it is dry? So when you write your claim, you have to try to answer that question. But when you're answering that question, you have to make sure you restate the question in your claim so that we know what we're talking about. We don't want to just say when it's dry, because we don't know what that means. So this is the claim that I came up with. There are more worms on a driveway when it is dry than when it rains. So your next part is your evidence. You want to do some type of investigation and collect evidence to decide if your claim was actually true or not. So for your evidence, it's how do I know that this is right and how did I get my answer? So to do this, I made a little investigation where I went outside to my driveway when it was dry and I counted how many worms I saw, and I saw one worm. Then I went out on my driveway on another day right after it rained and I saw 6 worms. So now you're going to take your evidence and use all that information to write your reasoning section. So this is where you say, was your claim actually correct? And what is your evidence that supports that? So for your reasoning, you need to rewrite the claim and state if it was correct or not. Then use your evidence to support your claim. So here's an example. My claim that there are more worms on a driveway when it is dry than when it rains is not correct. I know this because there was only 1 worm on the dry driveway and 6 on the driveway after it rained. This means there are more worms on a driveway after it rains. So you see at the end of my reasoning, I kind of restated what the correct claim should be since my claim was wrong. And there's nothing bad about getting your claim wrong at first. That's part of science. So if you got it wrong like I did, that's okay. That's just part of science. Just make sure in your reasoning you explain what the actual claim should be, what your evidence says is correct. All right, now let's head to the pond to do our study. Ooh, we got some visitors. Hi, dear. All right, we arrived at our meadow pond. Today, we're going to be collecting some pond organisms and trying to see if we can identify what types of creatures we have. So for a pond study, you need a few materials. You need a net, you need some type of bin. I like to use an ice cube tray to separate the organisms. A turkey baster works great to pick up the organisms, and then a pond identification sheet. And then the fun begins. So you want to put your net in the water. Sometimes it's helpful to kind of scrape it right along the shore. There's lots of different organisms that live right there. And then you're going to dump it in your bucket to see what you find. It looks really muddy and kind of gross here, but if you just let it sit for a minute or two, the sand and the mud will kind of settle down at the bottom. Another thing you can do is if you see any rocks or sticks, or even some plants that are floating, pick those up, bring them over and kind of knock them into your bucket. Lots of times there's little organisms and eggs that be hanging on top of these. Alright, so now you just use your turkey baster, trying to suck up some organisms. You want to make sure there's always water for them. The trick is trying to catch them. Time to examine what we found. Can you tell what any of these creatures are? There are still lots of little creatures in the bucket of water. Does anyone know what type of organism this is? On the right you see a big version, and then there's a smaller version on the left. These are called water boatmen. They eat mostly plants and they don't bite. They have short front legs with a scoop on the front end to gather their food. They have an oar-shaped back legs that they use to swim. They can actually fly out of the water at night because they're attracted to night lights. They also have air bubbles that they hold onto underneath their body, which helps them to breathe when they're underwater. And when they're underwater, they have to hook their legs onto a plant or a stick to hold it underwater so it doesn't float back up. Ooh, what kind of creatures did we find here? I see 2 leeches. Leeches are a type of worm. They have suckers on both ends of their body. Most leeches have 3 jaws with small, sharp teeth. They use those teeth to grab onto mammals, birds, reptiles, and fish and suck their blood. They actually used to be used a long time ago at doctors' offices to help you if you were sick. If you were sick, they would put a leech on your body and it was told to suck away your bad blood to make you healthy. How many of you would like to go to the doctor and have a leech put on you? Not me. Ooh, what's hiding in here? Ooh, this is one of my favorite things to find. This is a dragonfly nymph. So this is a dragonfly, but in its larval stage or its young stage. So it doesn't have big wings like you see on an adult dragonfly. They can actually stay at this stage for either 2 months all the way up to 5 years. It can squeeze water out of its abdomen like a jet, and this helps it to move quickly in the water and allows it to catch food. They also have a really cool thing. It has a long lower jaw that shoots out to grab prey. Sometimes you can actually get it to separate and I can move the jaw a little bit, but this one isn't cooperating very well with me today. But they are such cool creatures and they don't really look anything like an adult dragonfly. Here's a close-up of its face. When it's ready to become an adult, it molts its skin. So the skin starts to split apart like you see in this picture, and then the adult dragonfly comes out with its wings. It usually has to sit on some plants for a while the wings dry before it's able to fly. Pretty cool. Alright, I think we need to see a video of the dragonfly nymph catching some food. So this is a darner nymph, and this one has special claws that it uses to grab the food. So that movement is actually its jaw coming off and grabbing the prey. It kind of looks like a spork. This creature is a little hard to see. You can see it in the middle. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but to me it looks like a mosquito larva. So lots of different flies and insects like that have some type of larva that looks like that. Can you see what's hiding in the water? Yeah, a frog. This looks like a green frog. Green frogs are either green, olive, or brownish color, or any combination of those. They have dark spots on their back and sides, and have dark bars on their hind legs. Their belly is usually a whitish color. They sound like strings being plucked on a banjo. Remember, if you ever pick up a frog or toad, you want to get your hands dirty first so that the oils on your skin don't harm the frog or toad. Also, make sure you release it back where you found it. This water boatman doesn't seem to be happy to be in that little spot with the leech. Right here we have some type of pond snail. Hard to see, but you can see it slowly moving its body across my hand. Pond snails have gills that take in oxygen given off by the plants. They also have a shell to protect themselves, and they have an operculum, which is a door-like part that closes the opening of the shell. They also have a tongue that has rough teeth that they use to grasp food. Ooh, we have a back swimmer. A back swimmer looks very similar to a water boatman, except it swims on its back. So if you look at it and you see the black side facing up, that's actually the back of its body. But it uses counter shading camouflage, where the one side of the body is a different color from the other side. So if the front of the body was up, it would be white and it would be pretty easy to find for animals that want to eat it. So instead, it swims on its back so that the dark color on its back helps it to blend in. It also has oar-shaped legs, just like the water boatman. I hope you enjoyed our pond study. Hopefully next time when we do it, we'll be able to do it in person.